So in the last lesson you learned the law of sines, and today we're going to learn the law of cosines. So sometimes the law of sines works and sometimes it doesn't, and then you have to rely on the law of cosines. So copy down the title, and then down below here are some notes that you can copy down. Now the important thing that you need to remember is when you're using the law of cosines and you're given 3 side lengths, you have to start with the largest angle. If you start with start with one of the smaller angles, you'll do all the work correct, but then you're going to end up getting the wrong answer. Alright, so here's our first example we're going to do. Now when we look at this, we have angle C, and we have side A, and we have side C. Remember, the angle is always opposite of the side. So what uses angle C, side A, and side C? If you look back here, whoops, I missed that. It would be this one right here. So let's write that out. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. I circled the wrong one. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I'm sorry, I'm getting this all mixed up. That's not side C, that's angle B. Or side B. We already have side C. That's why I was getting mixed up. Okay, I did circle the right one then. So it's C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. So let's plug this all in now. C squared equals 7 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 7 times 10 cosine of 73. Now you can take out your calculator and plug it in just as it's shown there. So 7 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 7 times 10 cosine of 73. Now I hope my calculator is set in degrees, otherwise it'll come up with the wrong answer. That is the correct answer. Let's just, if you got a different answer, you go to mode, and then you go down to radian, over to degrees, press enter on the degrees. But I was already there, so it doesn't matter. So I can rewrite this as C squared equals 108.1 if I rounded that. Now let's take the square root of both sides to undo a square. So C equals square root. Now go second answer, which is the negative key down here. Square root of your answer. That way it takes the entire decimal, not your rounded approximation. And we get 10.4 is C. Okay, now we can just go back to law of sines, because now we have a match. Sine of 73 over 10.4 equals, doesn't matter which one we do first, let's do sine of A. Sine of A over 7. In this one you're going to cross multiply and then divide by 10.4, but because we're finding the angle, you have to do the inverse. So we do sine of 73, close your parentheses, times 7, divided by 10.4. Then you have to do second sine, second answer. And our answer is 40. 40.1, but angles, we do it to the nearest degree. And then 40 plus 73 is 113. 180 minus 113 is 67. There, we found everything in the triangle. Alright, how about this one? This is one where we have the 3 sides. So I would put this note next to it somewhere, that you always have to start with the largest angle. And so looking at this one, which one is the largest angle? Well, that would be side C. The opposite side always has to be the longest then. So because 12 was the longest, angle C is the biggest angle. So we'd start off by saying 12 squared equals the 2 sides that make up angle C. So 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 cosine of C. Okay, so now we have to look at this and figure out how are we going to solve this. Well, let's calculate out the few things that we can calculate. We can do this part right there. We can do that part right there. We can do 12 squared. We can do that part. So this would be 144 equals, got to calculate 7 squared plus 9 squared, which is 130, minus 2 times 7 times 9, which is 126, cosine of c. Okay, we can't separate 126 from cosine of c by just subtracting it off of 130 because it's attached by multiplication. So we only can get rid of it from cosine by dividing. So what we're going to do is drop down our line, minus 130. Just solving a basic equation here. So we've got 144 minus 130, and we get 14. Negative 126 cosine of c. Now we can divide it by negative 126. So let me do that up on this calculator. So we go 14 divided by negative 126. And we get negative 1 repeating. Negative 0.1 repeating. Cosine of c. Now how do you solve for c? How do you undo cosine? By doing the inverse. Second cosine, second answer. Again, always pull up the answer so that it gives you the exact answer. So that is 96.4, which we're going to round this to 96 degrees. That was angle C, 96 degrees. Now we can go to our law of sines because we have a pair, so we'd say sine of 96 over 12 equals, doesn't matter if we do A or B first, let's just do A. Okay, cross multiply. So sine of 96 times 9 divided by 12. Oh, I have two divided bys in there. That's going to be a problem. So we've got that answer, but we have to find the angle. So angle, we use the inverse. Second sine, second answer. 48. Okay, then we just take it off of 180, so 96 and 48 minus that off of 180, and you end up getting 36 degrees. There, we solved that triangle. All right, how about this one? Got a pilot looking to their left and they see a bus. Looking to their right, they see a truck. How far apart are the bus and the truck? All right, well, let's see what we can draw here. Draw an airplane. Okay, here's our airplane sitting on the ground. It's got its wheels out. All right, it's on the runway. And we got the cockpit here. So we've got that. Now we need to draw a bus. There's our bus, and it is 75 feet away. And they looked out how many degrees? 38. All right, now we have a truck. So there's our truck. Our truck is 110 feet away, if I remember right. Let me check. Yep, 110. And it's 28 degrees this way. How far apart are those two? So let's call that x. Give it some sort of variable. All right, what's our first step here? Our first step is going to be to figure out, well, how big of an angle is this? Well, that's going to be 66 degrees. Just add those two together. Now we can't do law of sines because we don't have any pairs, but we do have law of cosines that we can use. So we'd say x squared is 110 squared plus 75 squared minus 2, 110, 75. Cosine of our angle in between them, 66. All right, so you could have mixed around the 110 and the 75. That doesn't matter. So let's just type that in as it is. So 110 squared plus 75 squared minus 2 times 110 times 75 cosine 66. And we get that number. So x squared equals 11013.8, if I remember right. Yep. Now, how do we get rid of x squared? We square root it. So square root, second answer. And we get 104.9. Okay, that's the end of your lesson, so you can go ahead and write your questions and your summaries for that lesson.